Hey y'all, welcome back to Therapy Naomi. My name is Naomi, and today we're going to be talking about how to heal your inner child as an adult. The first step is to acknowledge that you have wounds. We're done with ignoring the trauma. We're done with ignoring the triggers. We're done with shoving that stuff down in a box because it no longer serves us to do that. At one point in time, it probably did. It protected us from having to relive those traumatic things. But I'm guessing if you clicked on this video, you can tell that these things are coming up in your everyday life. These triggers and these traumas are coming up in all of your relationships, whether it's platonic or romantic or familial. These triggers are coming up in your relationships. And from this point on, we're being intentional about how we go about healing our triggers and our childhood trauma. And number two, to heal your inner child as an adult would be to reflect on the traumas and the triggers. How do they crop up for you? How do they show up for you in your relationships? I know it's easier said than done, but try to get into a Zen spot, get into a meditative state, or you can just start journaling in a quiet spot with some music or whatever, however you want to go about doing this. You set the vibe so you feel safe and you feel like you're doing this intentionally. And then you want to think back on your childhood. You want to reflect on the moments that established these triggers for you. Skip this if you have any triggers with food. But one of my triggers with food was I wasn't allowed to eat for weekends at a time as punishment when I was younger. And I was punished for eating too much by both my caregiver and my mother. And I'm in therapy for those things because they directly come up with my own relationship to food and then how I respond to things that happen in my life. Number three for healing your inner child as an adult is to decide on how much you want these traumas and these triggers and these wounds to affect your life moving forward. Because you do have a choice. You can continue to ignore them, to push them aside, to shove them down, and have them continue to play out in ways that you don't prefer. Or you can be intentional about healing, about going down this path of self-reflection and forgiveness, and really working on how you respond to situations and how you speak to yourself when certain things come up. Because this stuff is so deep-rooted in us, a lot of it is unconscious, and we're not thinking about how we're reacting to things. We have something happens, then we have a trigger, and then we react how we always have, and that protects us. And then we kind of shove that aside and go on living. Essentially, you want to ask yourself, how can you lovingly tackle these problems, these triggers for you? Natasha. Boo-boo. Natasha, do you want to work on your childhood triggers? Because we can do that. It's a no. Okay. I mean, you have abandonment issues like I do, so I think you need to work on that. I will help you. Mommy will help you. Okay, jokes aside though, I do have abandonment issues, and that is another big reason why I do have a therapist and I do self-reflecting, and I'm in this spiritual self-improvement lifestyle, right? And getting a cat, I did not, for some reason, expect her to be a daughter. I just expected her to be a pet, whatever she's doing now. And I had a lot of triggers that came up for me when I realized, A, I'm in a tiny room, and B, she has abandonment issues like I do, and she's just really clingy at times. But a lot of times she's just really affectionate. Natasha. But I had to really undergo a lot of back and forth of, should I keep her? Should I really work on myself? Am I being a good cat mom? Am I passing on my triggers to her? All this stuff came up, and as silly as it sounds, I'm doing a lot of healing work and inner child healing with her, because I do have to take care of her as I would take care of myself. She's so cute. Lastly, the fourth tip for healing your inner child as an adult is to embrace the darkness, embrace the shadows, because it is part of you. You do not have to go about living in shame and guilt because you have darkness. We all have darkness. We all have shadows. We all have trauma. We all have wounds. And the sooner that you can put love into that dark inner child part of yourself, the sooner that you can go on a healing journey. It doesn't have to be like this. No, you're not slapping and banding a smile over it and everything's fine. No, that's not it. You're going on a journey intentionally to heal and love on the parts of you that need that healing and that love, that need that mothering, essentially. And the more that you show love to these parts of yourself, the more that they're gonna lessen over time. with patience, love, and understanding. This is not a journey of shame and guilt. We're done doing that, right? Been there, done that. Been there, done that with smiling over everything bad that ever happened to me because I didn't want to deal with it because I was spiritually bypassing myself. And since I've been doing this intentional healing, these triggers and these wounds, these inner childhood traumas of mine have made my adult relationships better since going on this journey. I will say, before I started working on my inner child as an adult, my adult relationships were trash. I was getting triggered left and right. I was dealing with a lot of abandonment issues left and right in my friendships, and that was just not okay. And I know that I was the problem in a lot of those relationships. Point blank, period. And that's okay, because we have to learn and we have to grow. We have to understand what we will and won't accept from ourselves and from others. But we have to forgive ourselves. I mean, the only option is you go on living with these wounds, and you hurt other people because hurt people hurt people. And I've been hurt by hurt people. And I don't want to hurt people because I'm a hurt person. That's all that I have for y'all today. If you have not seen my last video, go check it out. What is it about? What's my last video about? If you're a small-time creator and you find yourself struggling with mindset, with feeling like what you're doing is not enough because you're not where you want to be and you're not seeing the money, you're not seeing the audience yet, you're not seeing the growth, check out my last video for some tips that are going to help you get your mind right. Bye, y'all.